Hey guys, and welcome to MGD Gaming Bob, and I'm Matt. So this is a follow-up deck tech video on the original deck tech that I did for Atraxa, EDH Commander deck. As you can see to the right, we have the camera swapped. To our right, we have the deck list. Below is the commander, and I gotta tell you, the deck is actually super fun. So I've played it over the course of 2 different days, 2 different hangout days with my friends. We get together every Thursday, play some Commander, and I got a total of we'll say 10 games or so with the Atraxa deck over the course of the 2 days. And the deck is actually insane. Emblems are good, turns out. A lot of the times when I was doing the deck tech, I was just like, if you get this emblem, you're probably going to win. Yeah, I was right. I don't think I ever lost when I had emblems. I mean, the deck won a lot, actually, to be quite honest. I think I only lost 2 games of the 10. Yeah, just getting emblems. And the emblems kind of happen out of nowhere. So, like, the opponents, they think that they can kind of control what's happening. But because of the way that you're able to proliferate kind of in so many different ways, whether it's on a creature, on a land, the Atraxa was still a creature, but like I'm talking like the playing a land when you have the landfall evolution sage, playing a fetch land, which I need more, by the way. It's super good. Obviously, just being able to mana fix and landfall with evolution sage. Oh my god, it's insane. Just so many different interactions being able to proliferate like that. The ultimates of the Planeswalkers, they just kind of come out of nowhere. So yeah, getting the emblems is super good. I did make some edits, by the way, just so you're aware. So on Architect, again, not like a sponsor or anything, but just what I use. They've got a few features that I found out since last time I showed you guys this. So when I mentioned there's like a stats page over here, I noticed that this is the mana cost versus the mana production. It's like a pie chart that you basically want to try to get the pies to like kind of match each other so that you have the appropriate mana colors for what you need them for. So I actually did a little bit of like adjusting on the mana base based on this chart, trying to get the pie chart kind of like similar. As you can see, I'm producing too much black mana for how much mana that I actually truthfully need. It's okay. It's not that big a deal. One thing I could do is run basic lands, maybe basic islands in the place of some of the dual lands, something like that. But it's not that big a deal. I think I might just leave it. The mana is a little light as far as like the number of lands. I see a lot of decks, they run like 37 to 40 depending on the deck. But with a mana average of 4, there's like this cool feature where you can do like probability of like you could do convert a mana cost, I don't know, what is it, types, categories. So you can do like on turn 1, you have in this deck you have a 96% chance that you'll have a land. Now I'm sure if you upped this to like 37 or 38, you'd have a 100% chance to always have, well, maybe you won't always have 100, but statistics would show that would be much higher chance of getting at least 1 land on turn 1. And then you can kind of go through here, turn 2, 97%, turn 3, 98%, turn 4, 99. I don't know, it does go to 100. So by turn 5 in this deck, you should at least guaranteed hit 1 land by statistics. But yeah, so this is a pretty cool feature that you can use. And so I've decided to stay with 35 because there's a number of mana rocks and stuff. And I don't think I got mana screwed a single time. With the mulligan, I don't know if Commander always has a free mulligan, and in our group, we always have a free mulligan. So like, the odds are you're going to not really get screwed that much as long as you shuffle on, enough and whatnot. It can happen, of course, but then you just mulligan again, and then you just use the new mulligan rule to just put 1 down at the bottom for every mulligan you do. So it's not that bad. So again, I think it's worth it to run just 35, just to prevent yourself from being mana flooded. So as I mentioned, emblems are super good. Okay. I will say Atraxa has a huge mid-game presence. She isn't very quick. And there's some of the cards down in the bottom that's called possible other good cards. Some of them might help that based on like ramping, basically. But yeah, it's not a very quick deck. I had one of the games I did lose was from Slowgurk. Slowgurk's a fairly quick commander, and I didn't respect it. Okay, partially my fault, but partially, well, in my group, it's very infrequent that you actually lose to commander damage. Not because I think it's mainly just because most of the commanders have like an effect, and like we're trying to like combo off of that rather than like actually just being commander damage. So when he was attacking me and not attacking my planeswalkers, I should have kind of registered that, but I didn't. But either way, yeah, Slowgurk can be a monster if you have a deck built around them. So that was pretty cool. So that was one of my losses. When he attacked me the fourth time, and it was like 5 damage, 6 damage, and I think maybe 7, and then the fourth time was just, he's like, well, I think because it had trample and I couldn't block enough of the damage, he's like, well, I've already done, you know, whatever, 17 commander damage. He exiled one of my creatures, I think, if I remember correctly. And I was like, oh shit, commander damage is a thing. It's been so long. The only deck that we really ever have to worry about commander damage with is this Cathrall deck. So Cathrall, she's a monster, and she's kind of something that needs to be answered like right off the rip, because it can be all of those very, very easily. And when it has all of those tags, it's hexproof, indestructible, has all the other tags as well. It just becomes like this monstrous, like 13-13 or 10-10 or 20-20, whatever. It's not ever 20-20, but it can be like a 12-12 double striker, trampling, death touch, with hexproof, indestructible, pretty consistently. Which that hurts. That's hard to deal with. You can't destroy it with board wipes. It doesn't ever get haste, which is good. It can have haste in his deck, I think, but very rarely. But so a way to get around that, I found that I want to run, if I can get her, Liliana Dreadhorde General, and I think I mentioned it in the initial deck tech, but each player sacrifices 2 creatures. That's important because he doesn't run a lot of creatures, and this is obviously probably only in my playgroup that this matters, but maybe you have a playgroup that has creatures that are hard to deal with via direct removal or board wipe type of removal or whatever. So I'll probably end up running Liliana Dreadhorde General. I think I have a friend we're gonna do some trades. That'll be cool. So, that's one of the cards in the possible other cards that I want to run. There's a couple cards that I felt when I first started playing the deck. There's a couple cards that I had in hand that I just never really wanted to cast. One of them was Tevash Zat Doom of Fools. I think because a lot of the times when you have a Planeswalker in your hand, you try to think of like how broken they're going to be or how you're going to win from that card. And he's just not that impactful. I thought that he would be really, really good for like blocking, like chump blocking basically. But like the majority of creatures in Commander have like billions of effects, like flying, trample, first strike, death touch. Most of them they can chump, but like the flying, the tramples, the unblockables, like if he's in your hand, you'll be able to play him. But if you try to +2, you'll get the blockers that don't do anything. So like you'll tap out your entire turn to play him, and it just never felt, I don't know, it just never felt amazing. So I don't know if that I'm gonna cut him. I think I'm gonna try another week. We'll see how it goes. But some Planeswalkers that shined, man, Tamiyo Moonsage, as I mentioned in the deck tech video, I didn't lose a single game that I had her emblem. Just insane, super good. Same thing with the other Tamiyo, Field Researcher. Again, you get her emblem, you just win the game. One of the edits I made for Planeswalkers was I took out Karn for Ugin. This was after the first week of playing. This was for the second week that I tried him in. And the thing that's crazy about him is that I didn't realize it at the time, but he has 8 loyalty, or he's 8 mana. He's 8 mana with 7 loyalty. He's only 3 loyalty away from his ult. His ult is insane. His ult is like pretty much game winning. Especially when I forgot exactly what I did. I think I Tamiyo Researcher ulted into Ugin with like 3 other Planeswalkers and then Spark Double. I won that game because I just Spark Doubled Ugin. And then I think if I remember correctly, it was even even more insane than that. I think it was both Spark Double and Deep Glow Skate. It was like two or three Planeswalkers being able to ult both of the Ugins. It was just nuts. So yeah, I just won. And that's kind of what I want to lead into. So she has such a mid-game presence that a lot of times you just kind of win out of nowhere. But another point that I thought of, and I asked my friends, I said, hey, you know, I am doing a deck tech on this. I wanted their feedback on like opinions. They really like the deck. The deck is cool. One bit of feedback they gave was that it is a little dirtily. And I could somewhat agree to that, but at the same time, when I'm playing it, it feels like I'm doing like all these cool things. But realistically, you're doing all these cool things, but like you're not winning the game. So you're doing a bunch of steps to get there, and you will get there most likely, but it like takes kind of a little bit to like just get there. Like some decks are just like 2-card combos, they just like win the game. But like this, you're like tutoring with Liliana Vest, drawing a card with Ob Nixilis, using Call to Gatewatch to tutor another Planeswalker, and then playing that Planeswalker, and then you're doing so many things that like it kind of just takes a little bit to get there. So they said a little dirtily, but like overall, the salt level surprisingly was low. I thought it would be very high. Emblems are so insane because they don't have there's like no way to like interact with it. So I thought that would be like inducing salt levels a bit, or like when you get, I had Tamio the Moon Sages. I had her all. Where'd it go? Tamio. I don't like that it also. There we go. This is the one where you have no maximum hand size, and then whenever a card hits your graveyard, it just goes back to your hand. I don't know how many times I did it, but I used Call to the Gatewatch to just tutor Planeswalkers like a billion times, because I had Astral Cornucopia that had a bunch of proliferated counters on it. I had a replicated ring that actually got to like replicate itself, which was sick. You get 8 replicated rings plus the originals. You have 9 mana there. Astral Cornucopia had like 8 counters, and then you get to a certain point, you're just popping off. But they said, like I said, they said it was a little dirtily because it's doing all these crazy things, but then they're like, well, how do you win? Like you have like this crazy board presence, but like what's the end game? Sometimes the end game is, you know, you get to your Vraska. You control the board enough to where like you're countering all their spells with the 1 Jace. They never get to cast anything past their first spell, and then you use Vraska Relic Seeker to make their life total 1, and then you like make them draw a card with where's he at? The Ob Nixilis? Is that the guy? Oh no, you can give him the emblem with Ob Nixilis. Maybe you just make your creatures unblockable with Venser and swing in and kill each person with the other Vraska, the Unseen. But basically what I'm saying is like you kind of have to jump through a bunch of little hoops to get there, but it still feels fun to do it because it's in a different way than you're kind of used to. So I had a blast. The deck is super fun. Probably one of my favorite decks, competing with my Cascade deck. The Cascade deck, I think I'm going to make a deck tech on because it's super, super fun. So, yeah, the deck's super fun. Really enjoyed it. There's a couple things that I did. Like I said, I changed the mana base around a bit, and I'll leave the deck list down in the description below. Well, a couple things that I didn't notice before. I had like Viral Drake in, and I had something else. I forget what it was, but I had like 2 cards. Oh, I had Fabled Passage, but I thought I took it out. But this should be the updated list. So also what I've done is I've put this like possible other category in the Architect. This will be in the description, like I said. These are cards that could be worth putting in. Something like taking out either Tavash or Ob Nixilis. Honestly, Ob Nixilis, he is okay. I did put an emblem on somebody, which did kill them. Because they're the type of decks that are like drawing a bunch of cards and like trying to win based on drawing a bunch of cards, like drawing like most of their deck basically, or just cycling through their entire deck and then like Comet Storming everybody for a bunch because they can make a bunch of mana and all that kind of stuff. So like that did stop him dead in his tracks. Again, an emblem, you can't deal with it, so he's okay. But I guess it's one of those things where you could take some of these cards out that don't win like immediately and try to make it a little quicker to get to the win con. So stuff like adding in Cultivate and Kodama's Reach and Rampant Growth, those kind of things to like kind of try to ramp and be a little faster. So that was kind of the idea with the stuff on the right. Fabled Passage. I was thinking at one point about removing some of the blue-black dual lands and putting in basics. I did get ghost quartered like once or twice, and it was in the slow Gurk deck that he can keep playing things from the graveyard with, I forgot what it was, a green creature. It allows you to play lands from your graveyard. So like he could have just kept ghost quartering me. He was kind of nice about it because land destruction is kind of a dick move. So it is potentially possible to like, or maybe a good idea to run. I don't have a single you know, basic land, but maybe drop some blue-black lands and put in a couple basic lands, and then that would allow you to run these cultivates and stuff. I don't know. Fabled Passage is a really good card, actually, so Fabled Passage would be interesting to run. Heroic Intervention could be really, really good. Give yourself hexproof and indestructible, so protect yourself from board wipes, protect yourself from destruction spells. Just overall, pretty good card. This was a card that I came across that was actually pretty cool. This is, you just tap, it's 3 mana, so it's a 3 mana rock. You tap it to add a colorless to your mana pool. Tap it, untap the legendary permanent you control, untap Honor Worn Shaco. So what that means is you can tap your Planeswalkers to untap this for mana. And I just thought that was freaking cool. I'm gonna have to pick one of these up just to kind of, I might try it out. It seems really, really cool. Being able to use your Planeswalkers as mana. They're basically turns all your Planeswalkers into mana rocks, which is a ramp. So it's interesting. So yeah, I don't know. Possible cool card. One thing that I did want to do, because of the Cathrall deck, the Liliana Dread Horde General, having each player sacrifice 2 creatures, there was a point where he had played the Cathrall, and I had to like do a bunch of stuff to like basically. I finally got Tamio's emblem off the turn that he played the Cathrall, who was like a 12/12 flying indestructible whatever. I had to use Liliana's tutor ability to get comeuppance to be able to fog his commander, because I would have just died. It's like a 12/12 double striker, like you just die. It has first strike and death touch and trample, so like even if you block with the commander, Atraxa, she's a 4/4. You only have to sign 1 damage, and then the rest just goes to your face. You still die from commander damage. So I had to use basically an comeuppance as a fog every turn, using Liliana Vess, and then basically he had no way to kill me at that point. So then I had to do a bunch of, like I said, dirtily stuff, using like Teferi to untap the big artifacts, and then like getting a bunch of different Planeswalkers to then be able to get Venser, to then be able to have all my creatures be unblockable, to then like slowly knock them down. And then yeah, just stuff like that. Using stuff like Savor the Moment is a really good card. Obviously, take an extra turn. I said in the beginning, it's a broken card. It's insane for this deck, so definitely a huge pickup. Highly recommend running it. Yeah, honestly, the deck's super fun. Let me know in the description, or in the description, you can't put anything in the description. Let me know down in the comments if there's anything you guys would suggest. This stuff on the right is just all cards that I kind of just thought were potentially good. Merciless Eviction, I honestly only don't run it. I wish I could run it, but we have a player that plays, one of his commanders is Jaleva, and whenever she comes into the battlefield, she exiles the top whatever cards equal are to your the casting cost of her. And if he ever hits Merciless Eviction, he can just use my own board wipe against me and only exile all Planeswalkers. And I just don't know that I could live, not having, I don't know, just if it would feel super bad, I would feel super salty. I hate that deck. Using your own stuff against you always feels bad, and that's all what that deck does. It like goes to your hand, goes to your library, goes through your graveyard, exiles half your deck to use it against you. So I know that they would eventually happen. It already did happen one time where, oh my god, he ninjutsu'd his commander with a ninjutsu guy. I forgot what it was, but basically it was like, if it does combat damage, exile the top 2 cards of your library, and you can cast both of those for free. You know what this guy hit? He hit Jace, Unraveler of Secrets, good card, but nothing like too broken on its own, and Deep Glow Skate. So he basically got, from my deck, he got to play Jace, then play Deep Glow Skate, double the counters as it comes into the double the counters when Deep Glow comes into the battlefield, and then he was able to alt with still having both Deep Glow and Unraveler against me. So, you know, a little salty I was. You know, emblems, you can't do nothing about them. And I was so far behind, I was just like, yeah, well, I scooped. But I think I might have, I just let him get the ultimate. I didn't like scoop in response because that'd be kind of a dick move. But I did kind of salty scoop a little bit, which, you know, I'm going to start trying not to do because, you know, it's just bad table manners, I think. But yeah, so that was the Merciless Eviction. And then Rhystic Study, obviously, is just a good card. It's card draw. It's kind of a salty card. If you put it in your deck, people are going to target you. They're going to try to kill you. But it is card draw, and it is only 3 mana. We had a guy use Smothering Tithes against us, and he uses... Basically what he does is his whole deck is that card that draws a bunch of cards. His whole idea of the deck is to play Smothering Tithes and then just wheel a bunch of times. And then he uses Thousand Year Storm to then wheel a bunch more. So every time we wheel, he gets like 21 treasure tokens because nobody can pay that much mana to prevent him from getting that many treasure tokens. It's bonkers. But yeah, so Smothering Tithe obviously is a good card. Probably could be useful in the deck. Thrumming Bird, I kind of want to like just get one and put it in. It's such a low mana cost, just 2 mana. Just being able to deal combat damage to a player, and it's only a 1/1, so like the person you're attacking, if they don't have a flyer, they're not going to feel too salty about you hitting them for just 1 damage, and then you get to proliferate all your dudes. It's kind of insane. I should definitely run it. I think I would probably pull out maybe Tavesh, because like I mentioned before, his ultimate's just not overwhelming. His nothing he does is overwhelming, and I think that what you want to do when you're playing a deck like this is you need to be overwhelming. You have to have that presence that every card you play needs to have a ton of value, and I think that something like Thrumming Bird just has a ton of value. Oh, and then like the kind of trolley card that I kind of skipped over, Icarats. Icarats is funny. When Icarats enters the battlefield, each player gets a poison counter, and then you just proliferate their poison counters, and you just win that way. That could be a win con in itself because there is a real chance that you could get into an infinite loop of taking a bunch of turns with Save of the Moment or Teferi. Oh my god, Teferi, Master of Time. He gets out of hand so quick because you're able to activate it on every single person's turn. He comes out on turn 3 or 4. You just +1 on your turn, draw ditch. And you can do this a bunch of different times on each person's turn. If anybody ever goes to attack him, you can bounce the creature that's going to try to kill him. If it's a big creature, it's going to be worth it to bounce it, to phase it. And then what I actually played him, I kind of played the deck like a Reanimator deck for Planeswalkers, which was very interesting. So what I did is I played him on turn 3, and I started +1ing him a bunch. And it goes to you 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It only takes up to he has to be answered within a turn or 2, or else he gets to his ult like almost immediately. And what I was doing is I was like, okay, well my hand wasn't amazing at the time, but it was good enough. It was Teferi with like 4 lands and like a few planeswalkers, and I was like, I wonder if you could draw ditch a bunch of times, ditch a bunch of planeswalkers, and then because you're having so much draw advantage, you're going to draw into things like Savor the Moment, or even better, like Primeval Glorious Rebirth, or the other one, Eerie Ultimatum. So I was like, okay, can I just draw ditch a bunch of planeswalkers and then eventually get to Eerie Ultimatum or Primeval Glorious Rebirth and then just win? You just win right on the spot when that happens. Yes, you can, and yes, it's pretty insane. Because Vorinclex is legendary, so you can like kind of do the whole Vorinclex comes into the battlefield first, and then everything else, you know, they all see the triggers happening at the same time. So they'll all your planeswalkers that you ditch come in with double, you ult them all, you go ham, okay? You're going ham. So yeah, I got to do that once. That was cool. What else is there? Is there anything else? I think that's it. 25 minutes. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. If you have any questions, put it down in the comments below. If you have any suggestions for the deck, also put that down in the comments. I'm curious. There was a couple people that said that they were also building Atraxa. How did you build it? Did you go Super Friends? Did you go the creature route? There's even a cool like Saga route that I kind of want to build on the side. It just basically like kind of like you play the Saga, it proliferates the Saga, but then there's ways to remove counters from the Saga or get them back from the graveyard, and you kind of just like cycle through Sagas a bunch. Kind of also sounds a little dirtily, but it seems fun. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. Glad you guys enjoyed the first video. Hope this video is a good follow-up. And thanks for spending your time with us, and see you next time.